Hi there, Jessica here. I use she and her pronouns. Thank you so much for joining me. If you clicked on this class, then you know what's up already. This class is going to be about kind of like an intro class to inversion stools. So, if you clicked on this class, chances are you are curious about inversion stools. You're looking to buy one, or you have one and you haven't gotten up on it, or maybe you have one and you're a pro, but you're curious to see how I use mine. Um, that's really what we're going to be working with today. So I've got my stool here. I'm going to start class seated on this stool. If you have one too, feel free to find a comfortable seat. Before we get into it, let's just center ourselves. Let's ground ourselves. So I'm tall. I'm like 5'8.5". This stool is like very tiny to me. So this is a very comfortable seat for me as far as hip opening. I like to bring the soles of my feet together. The outside of the feet are situated on the ground. Knees are open, sitting up nice and tall. I invite you to do the same, or you can have the feet just nice and wide. Find your breath, find your body. If you're nervous, let's just take a moment to explore that. I feel you. I've been there before. Hmm. If you're nervous, if you're fearful, even if you're not even practicing with me on a stool and you're just watching this, know that it's okay to feel that way. That's a part of our identity is nervousness. It's part of our nervous system, like literally. And it's okay to feel that way. We just have to not let it freeze us. We have to learn how to navigate with that, and then eventually, hopefully, it transfers to something else, translates to something else down the road. So feel that out for a minute. If you're feeling that sensation, it's okay. Sit with it. It's just a feeling. Feelings are fleeting. Start to deepen that breath, soften that face. Let the tension go in the cheeks. Let the tension go in the shoulders. Bring your awareness to the tips of your fingers. Rub your thumbs over the tips of the fingers just to find that awareness. Mhm. Bring those fingertips to your temples. Remind yourself that you are in control. You are safe under your own control. And that you are always open and listening to any signals that your body might be sending you. You have that awareness, you have that openness, your mind and your body are working together. You are allies. Big sigh here. Let's find two more. Big inhale. Nice. One more. Very good. Start to blink the eyes open if they're not already. Bring your feet down to the earth if they're not grounded already. And before we get into it, I'm just going to give you a little talk about some of the tips and the tricks that I learned on this stool and my short journey to getting up on it. So I got this stool. I had my eye on it. I've been wanting an inversion stool for a long time. Had a lot of worries about hurting myself and just generalized fear of being inverted. Yes, I have been inverted before, not super comfortably in my own body. Um, Probably, because of the anxiety associated with it, going upside down is not a natural state for us. So it causes a lot of anxiety and that same type of feeling like if you are getting on a scary ride for the first time. I equate it to that same kind of anxiety, that fight or flight feeling. Just a feeling of uncertainty and being out of control. So I had got the stool after I'd wanted it for so long, and it just sat in the corner in the box it came in for a couple of months before I started working on getting up. Um, So I eventually started working on getting comfortable on this thing, and I made my way up, and it was a lot easier than I anticipated it to be, but my fear kept me from really trying. And so once I was comfortable getting up in this stool, once I was comfortable moving away from the wall and kind of holding my own balance, I realized a couple of things that locked me out of being able to completely invert. The very, very first thing was the tension in my body. So maybe you might already be aware when you start, even before you're able to completely invert in a stool, your weight is being supported by your traps. And that's that huge muscle between the neck and the shoulder. And you'll notice, like on bodybuilders and things like that, that muscle gets really, really big. But even on people who are not bodybuilders, that muscle is super, super strong muscle in our body for most everybody. Um, so those muscles are most of the time more than capable of holding, supporting your body weight. They can support way more than you think they can. So that's the first thing I want to say there. And so when you are nervous, like I am and was, you tense up that part of the body because that's the part of the body that's in connection with the tool that you're using. The more you tense up when you're trying to get onto the stool, and the more you tense up when you're actually holding an inversion of the stool, one, the less control you have because you're rigid, but two, you're causing yourself a lot of unnecessary soreness. So, for those of you who already know, who've had experience with this tool, if you're really sore after using this tool the first few times, and then maybe that starts to fade away. And that starts to fade away because you get more comfortable. So the more you tense up, the harder it is to hold your balance, and the more pain you have just from tensing up this muscle and then expecting it to hold a lot of weight at the same time. So it's a very long winded way of saying relax. Once you get into in your shoulders or your traps into the stool, whether you're inverted or you're just kind of practicing the sensation, practicing teetering your weight on it, the best thing you can do is relax this part of your body and grip on with the palms and try to keep the shoulders and the traps and the head and the neck relaxed. You want the stool to fully support your weight, and it will, um, without you resisting, if that makes sense. So that's my very, very first tip. My second tip is to breathe. When we're nervous, we hold our breath, we hyperventilate. So, going into this knowing that you're going to be nervous or you might be holding your breath, having that awareness is going to make it so much easier for you to remain calm and to breathe and to really focus on the strength that you're building, on the shapes that we're moving towards, on the progress that you're making. So, without further ado, I'm going to get myself up off of the stool and we're going to stretch out a little bit. So, this is going to be a really, really quick class. I'm going to show you some stretches that are going to help support you in this stool. And then I'm going to take my stool to the wall and just kind of practice jumping up a few times and hopefully give you some nice tools and inspiration to work on your stool as well. So, take a nice stance in front of your stool. So you want the entryway facing you. And, the majority of the work in our body just to kind of get ourselves lifted is really in the hamstrings. I use a little kick up to get my body fully situated, but you're expressing the backs of your legs the most. So we're going to warm up that area a whole lot. And we don't need the stool to do that, but it's very helpful and it's here. So just find a forward fold and plant your hands comfortably wherever they go on your stool. Maybe you have a different stool than me. Maybe you have like handlebars that you can grab, whatever is comfortable. We're just looking for a gentle stretch in the hamstring. So think of a supported forward fold here. And then you might maybe express one side and then the other. So like bend into one knee, maybe lift the heel up and then drop the weight on that side to express the opposite leg from side to side. So take your time here and really use your tool as support here. So this is, this particular stool I think is rated at over like 1,000 pounds or something. They're all a little bit different, but they're all sturdy. Because not only do they have to support your weight, but they have to support the momentum of your weight, which is more than however much you weigh. There's some movement with that, so that's going to make the weight fluctuate. So these things are super sturdy. Really lean into this thing. As long as you're on solid ground and it's not moving around, really put your full body weight into this, and this is going to help you hopefully become more comfortable with it supporting you in general. Just take a few more moments breathing into the legs here. So bending one knee and dropping the hip, dropping the belly, really getting into the back of the leg here. Ooh. And we want to wake up the arms a bit too, right? Because our hands are holding us in place. So you're going to just kind of take a hold of your stool wherever the access is for you. Nice grip here, and then press the hips back. We want to think of a standing or supported downward facing dog. So weight is being pressed back into the soles of the feet, into the heels. And you can bend the knees if you're still feeling a little tight behind the legs. Relax the neck, relax the head. And then shift forward, find a plank. Come onto the balls of the feet, sit back, downward facing dog, and we'll find that movement, that vinyasa, a few more times. So inhale, high plank. Lift up onto the toes and back into the heels as you exhale, back. Starting to feel the hamstrings open up finally. Super good. We're going to step into a warrior from here. So right foot steps forward. And depending on your stool, you can step it to the outside or maybe the inside, whatever feels safe and supportive to you. And find your warrior two. So back foot, the knife edge is flush with the short side of the mat. And reach your arms out and away from each other. Gaze comes over this front middle finger. Extended side angle here. Lean into your stool as needed. And then we'll take our position to step back for our plank. Take your time. Downward facing dog. And then we'll step forward, opposite leg for our warrior two. And extended side angle. And take your stool again. Find your high plank. Downward facing dog. Let's step forward. Find that forward fold again. And with the support of the stool, allow this to be more passive. So you can rest the forearms, maybe soft bend in the knees, and let the weight of the upper body find a depth for you here. And breathe. And if it's hard to breathe, step the feet a little bit wider. Ooh, sit the booty back just a little bit. And release the arms down to the ground. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Set the feet together. Let's take a moment here, take a few breaths. Mentally, physically, emotionally, prepare yourself. Very good. Big inhale in here. Chin to the chest here, back of the neck is long. Exhale, soft, gentle sigh. 2 more times. Ooh. Sigh out that stress. Sigh out that anxiety. We're not going to be doing anything that's uncomfortable. We're not going to be doing anything we don't want to do. Remind yourself of that. And now it's time to start trying to get our balance to start practicing in the stool. So if you're new to the stool, if you have been trying to get up but you haven't gotten up yet, If you are just frightened, if you are scared to death for any of those reasons, I think everybody would recommend bringing this stool to a wall. Um, and I think it's pretty obvious why. This is just gonna, a barrier here is gonna keep you from falling over in the opposite direction, which I think is the biggest fear of everybody, is falling in the opposite direction. You can certainly fall from side to side in the stool, but it's really hard to do. You have to be really reckless, I think. Your center of gravity is your center of gravity, so teetering to one side or the other, I think you would really have to be trying to do that. But teetering backwards, if you don't have that control in the core, that awareness in the body, could possibly happen, and it's very fearful. So the wall prevents that. So we're gonna take this to a wall here. And you can have this flush to a wall with a little bit of clearance for your behind. You don't need as much clearance as you think you would need, but bringing it to a corner works just as fine. You have the wall here, there's access. And as far as your stool moving, as long as it's on a level surface, you're fine. Okay? So the first thing we're gonna do, and actually, in fact, before I bring it to the wall, let me give you a demo here so you have a good view. So we're just gonna start by kneeling down in front of the stool. You are either going to have handlebars like me, or like wood panels like me, or actual handlebars to grab onto. So grab onto that baby. We're going to lower our head down into the clearance here. So take your time. And then start to walk the shoulders back. You want the back of the neck to kind of be in contact with the stool here. And once you feel like you're in place, you've got a nice handle on the stool, you can lift the knees off the ground just like for downward facing dog. And this is the spot where you would start to tense up. So hang out here before we try anything and just kind of play with relaxing the shoulders. Of course, they're going to be tense as you come up, but you want to relax that tenseness as soon as you get your balance up. So maybe this is it for you, where you just learn how to breathe in this position and you find comfort in this sensation before you move forward. You can play with walking the feet in, kind of coming up onto the toes, finding more weight in the shoulders and the traps in the stool. And maybe in your body, you start to just kind of float up from here. Maybe you lift one leg and then the other floats, depending on your body and your, anatomy and all that good stuff. For the rest of us who are thick in the middle, you might need a little hop up to get that momentum going. So to do that, you can think of lifting one leg up, bending through the standing leg, and just finding a little hop until you get comfortable with the way your weight moves in the stool. And so little hops up, and find a softness when you land. Keep the toes prepared. You know you're coming down. You're in control. You're not going to hurt yourself. So just try little hops, until one day you get there. And you want to breathe. So just kind of practice lifting up here or finding a little bit of air, little soft hops up until one day you hang, and then one day you get it, and you stay there, and you're able to stack the weight, okay? So soft landing on the way down. If you come up, if you make your way up and you're concerned or worried about coming down, it's not that much, there's not much space to the ground. It's a nice soft landing. The balls of your feet are going to catch the ground nice and gently. So let's take this up to the wall and see what that's like. So I've got my stool situated catty-cornered on the wall here. The wood is pressed up to the wall itself, so I'm feeling nice and secure. I'm going to find this again. Lift up. Little hop up. And you can see the security of having the wall behind me. So
If you get up, you might start here with the knees bent, and that is fine. That gives you a nice center of gravity. To start thinking of extending through the legs, first you want to breathe. You want to soften, and you want to squeeze the thighs together. You want to activate the core, and you want to think of, like there's something between your thighs or your knees that you have to hold together. And that's going to help you to activate and become more stable here. And then you can start playing with stacking the pelvis over the shoulders, maybe moving the legs apart, taking the legs wide, all that fun stuff. And then maybe curling through the back. And when you're ready to come down, again, softly, gently, one foot down at a time, and then the other one will follow. And you're all good. So take a moment here. We'll just take a quick moment of silence to wrap up this practice together. Find a comfortable seat on your stool, hands at heart center. Let the blood come back into your body here if you're practicing with me. And sigh it out on your next exhale, big sigh. Open your eyes if they're not already. I hope that this tutorial, I hope this class was helpful for you. I hope that you were moving with me. I hope that you're building up a sweat. If you want to see more classes like this, if you would like to see a full class with the stool incorporated, let me know. We can do that. I thought this would be a fun thing to try out, so would definitely love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. And I will see you next time here on Joyn. Thank you.